Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Vande Mataram. We are celebrating the 75th year of the independence of this great country of ours, Bharat Mata. Now, it is interesting to note that the very first sentence in the Constitution of India is India, that is Bharat. The Constitution starts with a statement like that. India, that is Bharat. Why did they have to use these two words? Because, one, the world knows this country as India. We also have become accepted this word as India, even though it is not actually our own word. It is an apabhransha, a corruption of the original word, given by the Britishers, actually speaking. So therefore, we take that accepted word and then give the actual word that is there of what our country was and is, and that is Bharata. So, what is Bharata? Bha means light, glory, shine. And Rata means one who revels in this glory, light, knowledge. We always know in our country, light represents knowledge and darkness represents ignorance. So here is a country which is flooded or revels in its glory, its own shine, its own knowledge and greatness and glory. And that is why the word for freedom for a country is called Swarajya. Swarajya. Raja again comes from the same, this Raj, to shine. Swaraja means one who shines by their own glory, Swa. So, Bharata means one who shines, who revels in the glory, and Swaraja means one who shines by their own glory. Same meaning. So therefore, in our country, we have to understand what the country means. We say 75 years after freedom, we should understand what actually our country symbolizes, what it means. Now let's go to the meaning of the word independence. Independence means not dependent. Naturally, not dependent means what? The word in our own Indian language is much better because it gives much more meaning and understanding. The word is swatantra. So India got her swatantra, swatantram, independence we call it. So tantra means governance, a system, a procedure, a way of doing things, a rule. So swatantra means we started governing ourselves. We no more had the Britishers governing us. We had our own government, government of the people, by the people, for the people. Not someone else telling us or deciding for us what is good for us. So our system becomes Swa. Now this is just a simple meaning of this Swatantra, but a deeper meaning is something that has to be understood. One is freedom from foreign rule. That doesn't mean freedom from foreign rule is just that the Britishers are not sitting over here. That is not the meaning. Or before that we had the rule of those invaders, who came from Arab countries. They came as invaders in our country. We don't have that rule. We rule ourselves. That is the, but more important, swatantra means our own governance and systems and methods and rules based on our own culture, tradition, knowledge, and what is right for our own people. That is a system. See, a system may not be someone else's, but if it is not true to what you are, then still it is, physically they may not be there, but if I am a mental slave, so still I am only doing what someone else wanted me to do, or someone else is somehow subconsciously this. Now it happens. Now for example, we see in our own neighborhood, we have so many countries which are independent, there is no rule over this, but financially dependent on so many other countries. In fact, their entire policies, this is exactly what happens in many countries. Because they become financially dependent, India at one time, unfortunately, even after we got our freedom, we kept on taking loans from the World Bank and all. We were like a beggar country. So, naturally, other countries and other powers were able to dictate terms to us, because we were taking help from them. We were all that is why, along with swatantra, we must have swayantra and swamantra. This is very, very important. We cannot have someone else dictating our mantra. Means what? Our goals, our visions, our entire aim and objective of our country, our dreams. That cannot be dictated by someone else. And this is actually happening in our own neighborhood. We have countries, maybe it can be China or something like that, where their policies are being dictated by foreign powers. Why? Because they said, we will do entire infrastructure of yours, but then you cannot do this, you will do this, they are dictating. So even though there is, as such we say it's being ruled by us, but there is someone else deciding our foreign policy or our national policies, our politic and all that, that cannot be swatantra. So therefore, along with swatantra, there is swayantra. That is why I am so happy that the present government made it a point to say, make in India. We have been a very, very fortunate country where, so many of the things, there are hardly any other countries who make all the things that we make ourselves. We make our own planes. We make our own trains. We make our own cars. We make 100 other things which, we send rockets made by us, satellites made by us, India. We have launching pads which we give to others and say, please use our launching pads to get your satellite into space. So that is very important, this make in India. So we are independent even yantra wise. Our yantra must be our material, resources, everything. We create it, we generate it. If these things are not there, then swatantra by outer rule may be there, but there will be others dictating to us because they are helping us. We are beggars for them, and beggars can never be independent. Beggars are always dependent on this. Now, and that is why what is very, very, very important is having swamantra. Then the swatantra will really last. Let me explain this to you. Even though I am going to give you an example which is a little negative in this, but I want it to be then applied to a positive thing that is there for our country. Let us say the recent fall of the Afghan government and the taking over of Taliban. Now, if you see, the rule was of the Afghan government. Even the yantra, the resources were provided by other countries, USA and all other countries. It was not just only USA that provided, so many other countries had provided them with the yantra. Now, how did they fall so easily? And the Taliban, in spite of the 20 years of rule by the other government, was able to sustain its, enthusiasm or to rule the country or there. So why? Because they had a very strong mantra. Whether it was negative or positive, that we will not discuss it. Whatever be the nature of their their ideology, if you want to call it, I'm calling it mantra, they kept it very strong. It was there in spite of the other rule. Whereas the army, the people who were part of the government, they did not have a strong ideology. They used to shift. I'm told that, whoever gives them the maximum money, they would go into the army, would shift. They would go sometimes, they themselves, the army itself would back the Taliban whenever they wanted. So people used to be, without that strong mantra, you see what happened. They left the arms and ammunitions in the hands of the enemies. I mean, which motivated person would ever do that? Wars, hundreds of wars have been fought. When they go away from that, they destroy the entire ammunitions and everything. They do not allow it to fall into the hands of the enemy. Here they just gave it, so to speak, just walked off from there. Why? The mantra was not strong. Now, this is what I want you to understand and think in terms of India now. Before independence, we had a strong mantra. Freedom for India was the mantra. Swadesha, Swadeshi, so that's why Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. We had strong mantras which gave us freedom, which motivated people like anything, even though we did not have the tantra, we did not have the yantra, we did not have resources, we did not have the governing power, and yet we had a strong mantra and we got our freedom. Unfortunately, after freedom, we did not have a strong mantra, and the mantra has to be not an individual, it has to be a national goal. It has to become a national goal, then only it sustains. After the World War II, when Japan was completely destroyed, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the morale of the country had got destroyed. Not just that the infrastructure and all of that, the morale had got destroyed also. What happened? They realized that they have to bring back something to hold the country together, to inspire the country to do something, and therefore they had a mantra, we will become a developed country. We will become one of the superpowers, and in a very short time. Remember, the end of the World War was 1945. 1940, and we got our freedom 1947. It's not that far back, and yet in no time at all, Japan became a superpower because they had this thing, we are going to become a developed country, we are going to become a superpower, and they did. They did. They have a say in the UN. They had a say. Why? Strong mantra. Then you create the yantra, you create this, everything is possible. In India, what happened after freedom, everyone only had a selfish goal, independent. Sometimes even the politicians, corruption and all became a way of life, not because the small man was corrupt at that point of time, it was the government that was corrupt. And for years together that happened. We had to have an Abdul Kalam who at all thought of a national vision, which became, and it cannot become just the vision of the politicians or a vision of a party. No, it has to become the vision of the country. Freedom for India was a vision of the country. Similarly, Vision 2020 that Abdul Kalam talked about was a vision for the country. He inspired small young people to have that vision. And everyone was talking of Vision 2020, whether they understood it or not is a different issue. But everyone started talking about Vision 2020. And then from there, fortunately for us, we have a government now which thought of it and actually development. All they talk about is development. Others put all this nonsense that they are talking about religion or this and that and all. That is not the way the present government is thinking. And that is why on the map of India, India is on the map of the world, India is now recognized as a developed country or a very, very strong developing country. The world markets are coming to us. People are respecting us. Why? Because we have. Our aim has become like that. Our thinking has become a little different. However, it has to become the thinking of every ordinary person. I was so thrilled when the first thing after taking power by Narendra Modi, back in the first term that he had, he said, clean India, before he said anything else. And he said, and I agree, and I want all of us to emphasize this, to understand this also, that clean India cannot be a party slogan or a party's mantra or a party's goal. Clean India has to become a national goal where every Indian participates. Otherwise, the entire amount of money of the whole country, if it goes only budget, nothing else except Clean India, still India will not be clean, because we will make it as dirty as ever. So the government will keep on cleaning, we'll keep on making it dirty. So until and unless each one of us makes it my vision, it will remain like that. And I'm so happy, because every time I used to go outside of India, come back to India, I've traveled a lot, I would feel ashamed of India, even though I love India like anything. Why? Because the minute you come in and you say, God, it is so dirty. We never even realize how dirty it is, because we live in our small little world. We don't think in these terms. So when this present government, and remember, we need sort of vision like that, not just in terms of the infrastructure and all, which is doing very well, but in terms of every field. And one of the most beautiful things that is happening, and I'm excited, I'm thrilled, I am inspired by what we call the National Education Policy. I am telling you, when and if that gets implemented and everyone makes it their policy, what will happen? Everyone gets inspired, understanding, instead of quibbling over small details which can always be thrashed out and all, understanding the entire impact of this whole national education policy, it will make India a completely different place. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we are swatantra, but we have to become swamantra. We must have a policy, an inspiring goal and objective in every field, in every area, whether it is environment, whether it is population, whether it is education, whether it is defense, whether it is finance. For everything, when we have these strong, positive, great mantras in line with our culture, in line with what India is, what India means, what India stands for. Not that my thinking has to become, see, infrastructure, the West has told us what good infrastructure is there. But culturally, they have not. Why should we say that is called good culture? Infrastructure. So let us understand the difference between the two. America and other countries have shown us what a good road is. How we should have good bridges, good roads, good trains, good this. And why do we always say it's Western? If you see, the best trains don't happen in the West, are not in the West. They are Japanese trains. So let us not, we always say Western culture, Western. No. Japan or any of these countries, they definitely took the infrastructure and all that from the West, made their country in that way very advanced. But that doesn't make it without losing what is called Indian-ness. I may have, in terms of my house, I may have this most beautiful, like all the comforts that the West has explained, or any place that has given to us. Yet at the same time, my house is an Indian house. Where I stay, maybe I stay in Tamil Nadu, then a house, and I'm a Tamilian by this. So it has the quality of me. Someone walks into my house, this is a house of a Tamilian. This is a house of an Indian. This is a house of the culture that I belong to. Not that I have to have a house which is this. So when we understand this about our house, we'll understand about ourselves as well. My thinking as well. So I'm an Indian. Heart and soul, I'm an Indian. So what it is to be an Indian, that should become Swa-mantra. Indian mantra. Indian-ness mantra. And the world respects us because of our Indian-ness. I know of so many young people tell me, only when we go to the West, the college students over there admire India for their Indian-ness. And here we are saying, I'm wanting to lose our Indian-ness as soon as possible, which is ridiculous. You will be nothing. If you take out that Indian-ness from you, you will not be able to compete with anything that the West does in terms of this. This is the Indian-ness. It is our way, our values, our culture and all that gives the value add to what we are. So therefore, along with swatantra, that has to be what? And the tantra itself has to be based on what being Indian is all about. Swatantra, swamantra, swayantra is as important as just having independence from this. So when we celebrate this, let us understand this. Now, a very, very, very important thing is the vision, the mantra, the vision. It is very easy to shift from a vision. Very easy to divert from a vision. This is an example which I give often. There's a train going, and the train is moving ahead, and it shifts. It's like there is a junction, so the train diverts and goes. Its original path is there, and if there is a slight mistake and it just goes onto the other path, where the train has changed tracks, the difference between the original track and the new track is hardly anything, just a little bit. But when it goes ahead, one goes in one direction, one goes another direction, and we realize after some time we have gone so far away from our original goal. To come back is very difficult. This is exactly what we were facing. We had gone so away that dependence, we said we were independent, and we were completely dependent. Yantra wise, tantra wise, no mantra, everything. For the government right now to bring us back, we are not even understanding that how far we had gone. So when anyone says we have to turn back, come back to a proper goal, everyone thinks, no, this is all nonsense, this is wrong. Why? Because we are so away. The reason why people are not understanding right now is because we've gone so far away. 75 years, I must say, in that 75, let's say in the past 10 years, okay, maybe we are more a bit on the track, but till that we were just going completely so dependent. The whole world did not even think of us, look at us. When our prime minister used to go, the previous prime minister used to go to some country, they would not even look at us. Leave alone give. Now we have a say in the world politics, we have a say in the market of the world. Indian markets make a difference, impact the whole world. What was there before that? So therefore, now this understanding of this mantra, because it's so easy to go away and we don't know where we go. We sell our souls sometimes, and this is what we have done in the past. We have not been able to stand up, on our own might and power to do things. Fortunately, there were always some souls which were very of a different nature who kept our vision a little alive. But I am so happy that right now we have a vision and we should all be inspired by it and work for it. Now, I will end with this one little story, and I want all of us to really think about this story well. There was a very great saint. A king went to the saint, and the king wanted to test the powers of the saint. He knew that this man was great, but he says, let me test him. So he had an insect in his hand, and he told the saint, please tell me whether the insect is alive or dead. So the king had decided that if the saint says it is alive, it will just crush it in its hand and show that it was dead. And if he says it is dead, then he will show that it is alive. So he said, please tell me, is the insect alive or dead? The saint was truly great. He says, my dear king, it is all in your hands. To keep this vision of an independent, swatantra and Swarajya Bharat is in the hands of each one of us, and especially the youth. So each one of us, and that will happen, Swatantrata will remain in its true actual meaning when there is Swayantra and Swamantra. We have to get inspired by a great grand vision, which fortunately we do have. We have to get inspired by self-sufficiency, self-governance, all these great principles. And the youth cannot say. Unfortunately, our education system in the present time is such which does not allow or does not encourage or has never taught us how to think. Unfortunately, the school way of teaching has continued into colleges. The only difference in the college is that they use a PowerPoint presentation for teaching instead of a blackboard or a whiteboard in school. But otherwise, actually, the teaching method is completely the same, and it's quite redundant because in college you have to become a person who can think themselves. So what happens even when youngsters, I talk to groups of people and all, you put any proposition forward to them, they are not able to think, actually speaking. Not only that, they are not able to think. What they normally do in the name of thinking, whatever they read in the media is what they vomit out. And we know the media, it can be either completely right, completely left, or completely this, or completely biased, or completely fake. And whatever they have read, whatever they have heard, whatever they have this, either they are skeptical about anything, they are not able to think independently about everything, or they just become indifferent and don't even want to think or talk as though I am not interested in politics. To say this is it shows the height of irresponsibility. You are living in a country, you know what is happening in the country, you should become an aware citizen. That is called being a good citizen. It has nothing to do with, you may not enter into politics, you may not become a person who is standing for election and all, but we as youngsters or youngst on the whole cannot say, I don't want to know, people, when I ask young people to name 5 political parties, they are not able to. In the whole country, I mean, this is simple questions when you ask them. The indifference or the lack of knowledge or the lack of thinking or just some colored, biased views, they spout. How can a country be a great country if this is the thinking or this of the young people of the country? This definitely does not bode well for the swatantra. We will lose this swatantra. It's not that someone else is going to come and rule over us. That also could be possible. But I'm saying, if we are going to do that, what is it that will make India, India? So therefore, it is time that the youngsters start understanding, start thinking, start getting, see, you are a product of everything that has happened in the past and what is here in the present. You cannot say, throw away the past. I don't care what has happened. No. And you cannot say your past started from independence. No. Other countries, when a building is 200 years old, they call it their heritage site and they preserve it. We have 20,000-year-old, 10,000-year-old things over here. And that we do not have any. We don't have neither understanding of it, value of it. You are not a product of what happened 10 years back, 20 years back, or 50 years back, or 100 years back. And this swatantrata that we got was not just the product of just fighting for 10 years against the Britishers or something like that. It was something which happened over a period of time. The psyche of the people became such that we became slaves. If again we are not careful about this, again, anyway our psyche is of like that, we get so colored by everything which is outside of India and all that, we cannot even think of making India great. Every person who is so-called intelligent wants to study outside, even the intelligent, that's the first choice, study in America. Not America, England. Not England, Australia. Not Australia, Canada. Not Canada, anywhere, Poland or anywhere but India. Now if the psyche of a person is like that, and if I don't get anywhere, I don't have money, then I am in India. So I am stuck in India. Now if this is the psyche, instead of that, why can't we have the best of education here and we export people all over the world? Because India has a brains, natural resources, everything in plenty. We can become the superpower of this whole world. And therefore, if it is we as youngsters and as aware citizens of India understand all this, our future, our swatantrata will become truly liberating for all of us. I'm very happy that Yuva Shakti has organized these talks, and may many, many more be inspired by this great vision. Hari Om and Namaskar to everyone.